11 years ago, a girl from Hubei province married her lover in Africa. She had 5 children with her husband and even brought her brothers and sisters to live in Africa. Now, everyone has tens of millions of dollars, and she often shares her daily life in Africa on the internet. Netizens often say that she is the happiest Chinese woman in Africa. So who is this girl? What kind of unknown story is behind her? Today, I will tell you the amazing story of this girl from Hubei province. Her name is Guihua Yuanming Xie. She was born in 1988 into an ordinary family in Hubei province. Her parents were both regular workers. There were many brothers and sisters in the family. Guihua was the 4th child. Her parents were very tolerant about their children's education, giving them a relatively free space to grow up. But at the same time, it also created an independent personality among the children. They had been helping each other since they were young and didn't let their parents worry too much. Guihua had been sensitive since childhood and always had her own opinions on everything. Among her siblings, although she was not the oldest, she had a strong voice. The smart and talented Guihua entered Shanghai Donghua University in 2008 with excellent grades and became the pride of the family. It was there that she met an African international student who was studying abroad, and they started a romance at school. From then on, not only Guihua's fate, but even that of her entire family, changed dramatically. This international student was from Rwanda, Africa. Let's call him Asang for now. Asang's family was very wealthy in local business. There were 8 brothers and sisters in total. It was a very large family. Asang had received a good education, was knowledgeable, and spoke several languages. He attended a good university. He was very stable and polite. After meeting Guihua, he also took good care of her. The university campus gave Guihua and Asang a very free space to get along with each other. As the relationship deepened, their love quickly blossomed. At first, this relationship was opposed by Guihua's family and friends, but like all young girls in love, Guihua didn't listen to anyone's advice. She didn't care about nationality or skin color and fully invested herself in love. Over the years, the relationship between Guihua and Asang remained very stable. When Guihua was in her 3rd year of college, Asang completed his studies in China. He planned to return to Rwanda for further development. A year later, Guihua also graduated. Devoted to love, Guihua decided to follow Asang back to Rwanda, Africa. When she told her parents about this idea, they were somewhat reluctant, but Guihua had made up her mind to go with Asang. Her brothers and sisters also helped persuade their parents. They thought that as long as Guihua could live a good life, it didn't matter where she went. They weren't worried that she would be mistreated. They knew their daughter's personality and temperament well. That's why they reluctantly agreed to this marriage. In 2012, Guihua followed Asang back to Rwanda, Africa, and was warmly welcomed by Asang's family. Not long after, they held a wedding in Rwanda. Although it was in Africa, Asang still prepared a white wedding dress for Guihua. They received blessings from their fathers. Many guests were invited, and the wedding was very special. In the 8 years after their wedding, they had 5 children in total. In 2013, Guihua and Asang welcomed their first child, their eldest daughter. The girl had a round face with features resembling her father's, but her skin tone was lighter like her mother's. In Africa, she was considered very beautiful. The couple loved their eldest daughter dearly and were overjoyed at her birth. Guihua said her eldest daughter was kind-hearted, sensitive, and very empathetic. When she listened to stories, she could empathize with the characters. When she felt sad, she would quietly shed tears. In 2015, Guihua and Asang welcomed their second child, also a girl. This girl was the third child in the family. She was particularly beautiful, inheriting all the best features of her parents. She had a high IQ like her father and was the most diligent in her studies, making the adults feel at ease. At the same time, she had a calm personality, loved to laugh, and was especially good at healing people's hearts. She was the sweetest girl in the family. She also liked dancing, cutting her own hair, and designing her own clothes. Some people said she looked like the famous Chinese actress Li Rotong. For most families, having 2 children is already great. But in Africa, most jobs require physical labor. Therefore, families with boys are considered to have a backbone. In such an environment, Asang and Guihua had always hoped for a boy. In 2017, their wish came true. Guihua gave birth to a boy for Asang. The boy was obedient, sensible, and very fond of Chinese culture. He was lively and cheerful and loved playing with his 3 sisters. For the sake of Guihua's health, they originally planned to stop having more children. But in 2020, Guihua became unexpectedly pregnant again. That was Xiaowu. Xiaowu was a beautiful little girl with an introverted personality and wavy hair instead of the traditional African curls. Xiaowu had big, doll-like eyes. Because she was young, she couldn't play outside with her older siblings, so she often stayed close to her mother. Guihua also cherished her time with Xiaowu. Guihua gave birth to these 4 children, but the second girl in the family was adopted. The second girl's father was a Chinese businessman, and her mother was a local Rwandan woman. Her parents had fallen in love at first sight and got together. In 2015, the second girl was born. However, her parents later broke up, and her father returned to China, leaving the girl and her mother behind. Not long after, her mother remarried and abandoned the 6-year-old girl. At that time, there were many Chinese businessmen in Rwanda. Through business, Guihua made many friends and knew the girl's parents. Although she already had 4 children, the kind-hearted Guihua and Asang still adopted this girl and named her Amazing. The second girl soon integrated into this loving family. Guihua was very attentive to her children's education. They learned to speak Chinese with her, could use chopsticks, and recite the 3-character classic. They especially loved Chinese Hanfu. Their education wasn't limited to books. They also learned about traditional Chinese virtues like filial piety and the value of hard work. The older sisters especially took care of their younger siblings. When Guihua was tired from work, the children would rush to massage her and chat with her to ease her mood. Guihua and her husband did their best to create a good living environment for the children. They made sure the kids had beautiful clothes and shoes. In their free time, Guihua and Asang would take the children out to play, go hiking, and swim. The family got along very well and had a strong bond. Guihua wasn't the most beautiful woman, but she was patient and kind. Her husband was nicknamed the mountain village version of Kobe. Interestingly, among their 5 children, none had dark skin like their African father. All had light yellow skin and looked beautiful. Netizens joked that Chinese genes had defeated African genes for the first time. Some even said they hoped the little girls would grow up and marry back to China. In 2021, Guihua and her husband moved into a big villa with their children. Their careers were also going smoothly. Around that time, Guihua began sharing her family's daily life on Chinese social media, attracting a lot of attention. People were curious to see what life in Africa was really like. At first, many netizens couldn't understand why Guihua chose to live in Africa, and some even mocked her and her children. But as her videos continued, people began to understand and admire her more. Although they lived in Africa, their life was not as hard as people imagined. They lived in a large villa with a manor, ran a nail salon, a furniture factory, and a farm. The 5 children received a good education and spoke 4 languages. Their lifestyle was no worse than in China. The family employed a nanny, a tutor, a driver, and a gardener. There were also many workers in their companies. But these achievements weren't just thanks to Asang. Guihua also had her own career. While Asang worked as a salesman and often traveled for business, Guihua managed her nail shop, raised pigs, and provided many job opportunities for locals, contributing to the local economy. When Guihua's career was booming, she also brought her brothers and sisters to Africa to develop their businesses. Her siblings, who had been working in furniture and logistics in China, joined her. Her eldest sister and younger brother opened a furniture factory in Africa. Because of their good quality and service, the factory quickly became popular. Her younger brother even found love in Africa and started a family. Like in childhood, the siblings continued to help each other. Each found their own way to succeed. Now, each of them has tens of millions of dollars. Through her own experience, Guihua showed us that as long as you have dreams and are willing to work hard, life can be good no matter where you are. Today, they still record their daily lives in Africa, contributing to cultural exchange between China and Africa. With the rapid development of the Internet, we can now see many cross-national marriages between Chinese and Africans. Guihua is one of the few women who has managed to live so happily in Africa. There are no 2 identical leaves in the world, and no 2 completely identical people. The success of Guihua and her siblings comes from hard work, but also a bit of luck. First, her husband's family is wealthy and well-connected locally. Secondly, Rwanda itself is a special country. Located in East Africa, it's about 2/3 the size of China's Hainan Island. Its scenery is as beautiful as a painting, often called the Switzerland of Africa. Forests cover 1/3 of its land. The water supply is abundant, and the annual temperature averages 23 degrees Celsius. Although Rwanda lacks oil and gold, it is one of the most affluent and well-governed countries in Africa. Its average life expectancy is 70 years. It ranks first in Africa for safety and environmental quality, and second for business climate, earning recognition from the United Nations. It is one of the most promising nations in Africa and has long maintained good relations with China. In recent years, with China's assistance, Rwanda's infrastructure and e-commerce have developed rapidly. Some rural areas can even shop online now. Guihua was very fortunate. She has lived in Rwanda for 11 years, a period that coincides with the golden decade of Rwanda's development. All these coincidences created the story of Guihua we see today. The author simply wants to show readers the wider world made visible by the Internet, not to suggest everyone should go to Africa to seek fortune. There are risks in everything, and everyone's path to success is unique.